So Andrew, I'd like to talk about the first-time buyer and
Mm.
their journey today.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, speaking on freight demand, I mean, I'm from California, so driving up and down the freeway all the time, you see trucks everywhere, and almost every single one you see is asking for drivers, whether that's the company driver or the owner operator. And as Zach was saying, transitioning from a company driver to an owner operator is a big step, but it's a logical step for many people that are comfortable, have a few years of CDL under their belts.
So what? Okay, so let's play it out, right? Let's say I've been driving for a mid to large size fleet for a couple of years. I already have my CDL.
Okay.
And I've been driving for maybe, let's call it, just under 5 years. And now I'm thinking, now's the time. I want to go out on my own. I want to take that chance. So what do I have to do? So where do I go? Do I buy the truck first? Do I buy the truck? What should my initial thoughts be?
The first thought should be planning. A lot of people, they see dollar signs, right? As a company driver, you're making X. As an owner operator, you're making 2.5 to 3X, which is great. It's fantastic. But with that comes all of the scheduling, all the overhead, all the expenses that typically your carrier pays for. So you need to think about, you need to lease or buy a truck. You need to book your own loads. Maybe you need to get hooked up with a freight brokerage. Maybe you're just converting and driving for your current fleet. There's just a lot of different scenarios that can come up. But number one is just really plan it out. And I think that's where a lot of people get hung up on, is that planning stage and the scariness of it.
And because that's it, right? You sit down, you pull out a piece of paper, and all of a sudden, those numbers start to look maybe a little bit differently on paper than you would have anticipated in your head.
Right, right.
So let's pretend, for argument's sake, we're in a more normal market.
Okay.
What do you recommend? Do you recommend they buy a new vehicle, or do you recommend, if they're going to buy, or do you recommend
Mm.
that they buy something used?
If they're going to be a first time buyer, I always or typically always recommend that they buy something used. I mean, nothing, you have to think as an owner operator that this truck is going to be your single source of income. And on the lending side, that's also why you are potentially more risky, because if that truck goes down, your ability to repay is significantly affected. So, like, buying brand new is great if you have the cash and the credit to do it, but most people, most normal people do not.
Right.
So getting a used truck, 200, 300, 400,000 miles within 5 model years, that's typically how I guide people on this journey.
I like, so 5 model years, 400,000 miles. Um, what are we looking at in terms of credit score?
It can vary a lot. I mean, I've noticed in my time in the transportation space that, especially when it comes to buying their next rig, that truckers are willing to put some cash down, which is great. So with cash down, like, your acceptable credit becomes much lower. So if you have a significant down payment, 20, 30, even 40%, 500, 600, like, you can get it done in that range. But if you want to put zero down or close to zero down, you're looking at a 640 plus is probably a comfortable range.
Mm.
Maybe more in like the 680 range.
Are there things that a driver needs financing on other than the equipment? Are there other, like, um, maybe your more business type expenses
Mhm.
that they'd have to go to a finance firm for, or is that sort of separate?
Well, there is instances like we had a trucker or a trucking company reach out to us because one of their engines blew on their
Mm,
truck. They didn't necessarily want to buy another truck. They still love their truck. It just had a bum engine. So we gave them some working capital. If you've established your entity, you've got some cash flow in there. You just need some short term injection. Like, we can help with that type of stuff too.
is that for your owner operators and maybe your first time buyer? I think in this case, let's extend it out a
Mm.
little. Like, you're not. You're a first time buyer, but you've been on the road owner operating for maybe over a year or so now. This working capital situation, is that a popular request, from people like that?
It is. So for the first time buyer, they're typically just focused on the truck aspect of it. So we typically don't bring up working capital at that point because they don't have a basis to actually get that injection because they're not an established entity yet. But as they become an owner operator and unexpected expenses come up, that's kind of where it comes into play. But on the first time buyer side, things that come up are the truck, warranty on the truck. The warranty is a big one. I saw the light up there.
because that's the thing, right? The OEM warranty, by the time you're talking about that 5-year cycle, the 400,000 miles, the warranty's done at that point, right? The original OEM warranty is done.
Yeah, typically yes. I mean, there are some OEMs that extend that far, but there are warranty vendors that do warrant used vehicles. I mean, I'm not sponsored, but I know that like True North is one of them off the top of my head that they'll sponsor or they'll put a warranty on a used vehicle like that.
And I do know that trucktractortrailer.com does sell warranties if you are looking for the used truck warranty, but it's still not something that's in the front of my mind because I'm not on the road. So I'm thinking someone comes, someone reaches out to me, they're looking for a vehicle, first time buyer, or they're looking to get their second or third truck or trailer. I'm just focused on the vehicle. The warranty's back of my mind. And that's why it's just like, oh yeah, that's right. You guys need to worry about your warranty. The insurance costs too, I imagine here, because now all of a sudden you go from being under your company's insurance to now you have to go find someone to insure your new vehicle.
Absolutely. Yeah, the trucking insurance is a big aspect of it. I mean, if you're going to lease onto your carrier still, sometimes they cover the liability portion of it, but you still need to insure the property value of your truck. I mean, especially if you're going down a finance agreement with the lender. Another thing that I typically recommend, if you can find a provider, is gap insurance. Typically, people don't think about that, but if you're a single owner operator, you total your vehicle, you need that gap to make sure that if you did finance or lease that vehicle, that you're not out of pocket.